My fiance's mom humiliated me at every dinner. Then the lawyer started reading the will. For about 2 years, I sat through dinners at my fiance Ethan's family house. And for 2 years, his mom Pamela made it very clear I wasn't good enough for her son. I grew up modest. My dad drove a delivery truck. My mom worked a school cafeteria. And I put myself through nursing school on loans and double shifts. Ethan's family, on the other hand, had old money. His grandfather built a chain of hardware stores decades back, and the family had been comfortable ever since. Pamela never once let me forget the gap. It's just so refreshing that Ethan found someone so practical, she'd say at dinner, somehow making practical sound like an insult. She'd ask pointed questions about my student loans in front of guests. Once joked that I should make sure the prenup's fair to everyone, staring right at me the whole time. Ethan defended me, to his credit, constantly, but it clearly wore on him and his mom, and honestly, I told him more than once I didn't need his family's approval, just his loyalty. He gave me that much at least. The one person who never piled on was Ethan's grandfather, Arthur, the actual patriarch who'd built the hardware chain from nothing. Arthur was quiet at those dinners, more of an observer, but always kind to me specifically. Asked about my shifts, remembered little details weeks later, told me once privately he respected people who build things with their hands, one shift at a time, which I always chalked up to an old man being sentimental about his own working class roots. Arthur passed away last winter in his sleep at 89. Whole family gathered for the funeral and a week later for the will. I almost skipped the reading, honestly. Felt like family business. And Pamela had made it clear over the years I was tolerated, not included. But Ethan insisted, said, "You're going to be family whether my mother likes it or not." The lawyer, an older guy named Mr. Whitfield, who'd apparently handled Arthur's affairs for decades, read through it methodically. Hardware chain, worth a serious amount by now, split among Arthur's 3 kids, including Ethan's dad. Grandkids got modest trusts. Nothing surprising, exactly what the room expected. Then Mr. Whitfield paused and said there was one more provision, added 8 months earlier, addressed specifically to a Sophie Marsh. That's me. The whole room turned. Pamela's face went from mild confusion straight to alarm. Arthur had left me a separate sum, plus a handwritten letter. Not lottery money huge, but enough to wipe out every cent of my nursing school debt with plenty left over. He'd set it up quietly, months before he died, after all those uncomfortable dinners. The letter, which Mr. Whitfield read aloud at Arthur's request, laid out his reasoning. Said he recognized the same drive in me that had built his whole company from nothing, and that he'd watched me absorb what he called casual cruelty disguised as concern, dinner after dinner, with more grace than he thought he could have managed himself. Wanted to make sure that whatever happened between Ethan and me down the line, I'd never feel financially small in that family again. Pamela didn't say a word through the whole reading. Once it was over, all she managed was, "That's a very generous gesture. Unexpected, but generous." Ethan, next to me, was crying. Not sad tears, more like vindication. Squeezed my hand under the table. Now here's the part that kept rippling through the extended family for weeks after. Arthur's letter didn't stop at explaining the gift. He added one more paragraph, addressed generally to the rest of the family, gently noting he hoped they'd think about how they treated people who married into the family, and that wealth built without character isn't worth passing down. Never named Pamela directly. Didn't need to. Everyone in that room knew exactly who those lines were about, and nobody knew it better than Pamela herself. Dinners changed after that. Not overnight. Pamela isn't a different person because of one letter. But the comments about my background stopped. No more pointed loan questions. She's never apologized outright, and honestly, she doesn't need to. Arthur said what needed saying in a way that made arguing back impossible without looking exactly like the person his letter described. Ethan and I got married that spring. Left Arthur's chair empty on purpose at the reception, single place setting, Ethan's idea. I think he would have liked that. A practical, sentimental little touch, fitting for a guy who spent his whole life quietly noticing who actually deserved a seat at the table.